Ah yes, 2019. A time where the pandemic was at its lowest and where a budding battle royale was at its finest. Fresh, new, frenetic gameplay, a colorful cast of heroes to play with, for the most part. Gunplay that hits hard and hits heavy, and an underlying story with lore to boot. It felt as if nothing was going to stop the growth of this FPS juggernaut that emerged like a dark horse. Until August 18, 2020. Calm down, I don't think this is Apex's worst, that's for much later. But it's an important event that steered Apex's progression to the hellspawn that it is now. Don't get it twisted though. This isn't about the empty updates, the lack of decent patch notes, the boring legends, the god-awful servers, the absent footsteps. Instead, I want to talk about Apex's main story. Or what's left of it. From Season 1 to Season 5, there was always a hint at something bigger in the Outlands. Legend after legend, animation after animation. The world around us was building into a more vast and intricate in-game universe as time went on. But after what looked to be the story's biggest setup, it dissipated off into the distance, and it soon turned into a slog of a season-long anthology with no sign of a coherent narrative. The real kick in the teeth, however, is not only that there are issues with the story itself, but as a result, some of the characters get caught in the crossfire as well. As a day one player with a newfound love for Titanfall 2, it pains me to see such promise and potential be stripped away from us. But I'm not gonna rant today. Instead, I'm voicing my frustrations constructively by getting to the bottom of what made it so intriguing and why it's such a bore nowadays. This is a big one, so if you need to stop and pick it up another day, please do so, because I wouldn't want anyone to feel forced to watch it all in one sitting. The video will be here for you when you return. As for those staying for the full video, grab your snacks, crack open those cans of pink lemonade, kick up the recliner, and join me as we dive into the world of the Outlands. During this period, there wasn't too much to go off of in terms of story until the first animation dropped on September 2nd, 2019. Besides the pushing of her overpriced skin, it helped us get to know a little bit more about Wraith and her place of origin. There's cool action sequences and some emotionally poignant moments here and there. Reminds me of the old Overwatch animations from back in the day. It's definitely top 3 of the series, and I recommend you give it a watch if you haven't. They also did this for Wattson and Crypto as well when they were slowly getting introduced both in-game via hints all over King's Canyon and also in launch trailers. While not as in-depth as Wraith, for which I can only assume was because they weren't introducing another glorified $500 accessory, it still gave us an inside look as to who these characters are and what their place is in the Apex games. As you can see, just a couple small tidbits to help the game feel less one-dimensional. Like Overwatch, it's just a little something to help immerse you into their world and characters. At least that's what we thought. What's this? A new legend is announced for Season 4. The community was in rare form speculating on how a Doomfist-type character would work in Apex's Battle Royale system. Everyone was racking their brains trying to find out as much about Forge as possible. What would he bring to the meta? Or better yet, the background story in the Outlands. What is Hammond Labs and how is he connected? Do any of the legends know him? What about his playstyle? How is he going to bring the fight up close and personal? Well, shit. The story that shocked the world. It was one of the coolest moves pulled by a game company in the modern day, and I will always give them props for this. The once announced new legend for the next season is now pronounced dead, with Revenant taking his spot. In his launch trailer, we're introduced to a bounty hunter on the lookout for a man named Marcos Andrade, a con man running operations with his wife. While the hitman's on his way to finish the job, Marcos and his family all come together for dinner. Marcos hands his daughter what looks to be a family heirloom, but aw shit! Revenant comes crashing through the window, pummeling and slaughtering whatever bodyguard is stupid enough to get in his way. One of them gets a lucky swing in, but it only pushes him to activate his death protection. He proceeds to two-piece combo more bodyguards before getting two-pieced himself. Congratulations, but whoops! He resurrects and downs the last of the bodyguards before getting shot at by Marco's wife. Naturally, he says, "No you," while Marcos' daughter watches in horror. Before he finally makes it to his target, Marcos sacrifices himself to keep his daughter safe from his life finally catching up to him. Right as she makes her way downstairs to safety, Revenant grabs his reward, and Marcos' last words are but a question.
"What the hell are you?"
To which Revenant replies,
"Death,"
before snapping his neck and letting his lifeless body barrel to the ground. After a job well done, he looks into the mirror and notices a glass shard that pierced his hull. He pulls it out, but it causes his systems to malfunction. The smoke has been lifted, and the mirror has been broken. He was never human, and he was never alive. Just a simulacrum doomed to an eternity of pain and bloodlust. But before the trailer ends, we turn to Marcos' daughter, furious with tears as she looks upon her now dead father's body, and we get our release date.
Succulent.
A trailer that could have been its own story from the Outlands and a teaser for the next season's character that's directly connected to Revenant? This is without a doubt the best launch trailer yet, and you can't prove me otherwise. However, the fun has only just begun. Before I start, I want to state that while I do think that this is the peak of the lore, I by no means am going to say that this is top tier storytelling. It does its job, don't get me wrong, but there are problems with the consistency of the plot, set pieces, and even the characters themselves. I will go into them when they appear, and if anything is wrong with what I did or didn't say, feel free to let me know because I probably missed something important. Secondly, I'm not going to be using any media outside of the story in-game and the trailer/stories from the Outlands on YouTube. The outside media I'm referring to are the animations, still-imaged voiceovers, and comics on Apex's social media accounts. I won't be using them for this analysis because they either have nothing to do with the main story, or they keep people up to date on their empty out-of-the-blue relationships that in turn also play no part in the main story. But what if there are posts that change things in the main story, you ask? If we're supposed to be under the impression that the information you posted is so essential that you have to know about it to forward the lore, why is it such a huge problem to put it in the base game for everyone to see? If the changes are so integral to the main story, then there's absolutely no reason to make your fans waste their time on different social media platforms searching for those big changes. Giving out all these avenues of information might alienate people in the community all because they didn't follow the official Apex Twitter account that released a comic showcasing an original Legends backstory being connected to another original Legends backstory whose backstory might be connected to Titanfall 2. That isn't a joke, by the way. But it gets worse. The clips after Season 6-ish correlate with whatever lore-based video Respawn feels like posting that week.
On your feet, Renee. What did you find on my brother? Let's find a quiet place to talk later. Just the two of us. I hear you. Better finish up this match quick.
So if you're like me and you preserve the last of your brain cells by casting social media aside for good, the legends will say things as you're playing and you'll have no idea what the hell they're talking about. It's a waste because when Season 5 first introduced this, the legends' demeanor towards each other through quips changed as the story went on, and it was such a genius idea.
We must discuss the merging of our life's works. I'm here to help. A mind like yours should remain intact.
Thank you, Dr. Caustic. See? You're not as inhuman as they say you are.
Hold still. I know this doesn't change anything.
I realize you could have made a different choice. Thank you.
But now it's nothing but a mouthpiece for whatever random story bite or cringe flirt lines Respawn thinks of while laying on their tummy with their legs and feet swinging in the air. Bottom line, get it all under one roof. Otherwise, people who don't have access to social media will miss out on key things simply because you couldn't clue anybody in by means of properly implementing these events into the main storyline in a logical manner. Star Wars is guilty of this. I don't see any reason why Respawn shouldn't be. And finally, all of my footage for the in-game story and comics are not mine. The Broken Ghost storyline is from the channel Warby Gaming, and the comics are from the channel Mad Lad. They'll probably never see this, but I commend you guys on your dedication. Make sure to check them out for yourself if you're interested. Links are in the description. All good? Good. Let's continue. All eyes are on Respawn now. The world is in high anticipation for the next batch of Apex content. Loba joins the games with her nemesis, and Season 5 begins. Deep inside all of the new content, a special tab is waiting to be unveiled. A story quest dubbed The Broken Ghost awaits. It's simple. You read a little bit into the quest, and you complete PvE missions to help Loba look for pieces of a buried treasure scattered all throughout King's Canyon. But Revenant's hot on her tail, and he never hesitates to shake things up. We get to see all types of personalities, friendships, and rivalries. Differing ideals will clash. Mistakes will cause ripple effects. Betrayal is as present in the air as ever. Sure, the PvE missions are easily the best part, but the storyline gives you another reason to come back week after week to find more pieces and get closer to the truth. This is what made Season 5 stand out, and it's about time we go through it all together. Starting with the prologue, the Duplicitous Snake. At first, the story's POV for this prologue is actually unknown, commenting on how this special meeting is taking place in the bathroom of Mirage's bar. We get a taste test of Loba's character and her dynamic with some of the legends, most notably Bangalore. It's obvious that Bangalore isn't feeling Loba, and the POV goes on about how they'll both be entertaining. Loba cuts to the chase by talking about her reasoning for calling up the legends. She mentions that she's searching for rare and valuable treasure, and in return she offers to give them whatever they desire, followed by details and conquests known only to those individual legends and those individual legends alone. Mirage's sick mom, Lifeline's law-breaking parents, even Caustic being framed, or so he says, for a crime he didn't commit in his hometown. And to anyone's surprise, he himself is shocked at the revelation that Loba can know something so personal about him. After Loba asks for their assistance, the mystery POV replies, "Well, it's not a mystery anymore, it's gotta be Octane. They're all idiots?" That sounds like a crypto quote. For obvious reasons, I'm not affected. Caustic? Loba continues by mentioning that there's a different King's Canyon that's parallel with the one we're in now, and that the treasure is in pieces across this other King's Canyon. Again, the POV replies, "An independent variable." Okay, so it's definitely Caustic. Octane again? We also find out that Pathfinder has been in contact with the second dimension, and describes how the locals are shadows. Upon learning this information, Loba then looks to him and Wraith to be our ticket in, to Wraith's discomfort. We find out from her that the treasure has to be assembled, and who better to do that than some of the best engineers in the Outlands, Crypto and Wattson. But Crypto is skeptical of this situation, asking if she has proof that it isn't a trap. But Loba just goes,
"Nah, it'll be fine,"
noting how they're both perfectly capable of protecting themselves on the occasion that it is a trap. Finally, she wraps it all up by referring to Bangalore as the general that holds the team together. But Bangalore corrects her by saying that she's a sergeant first class, not yet a general.
Ouch.
Pathy mentions how powerful Revenant is, which causes Loba to tell everyone that it is of the highest priority that he knows nothing about their plans. And in our final note from the POV, a secret about them is uncovered, which is the main reason why I was noting the different catchphrases. It turns out that they're the mole. Multiple quotes from different characters. They put out all the stops on this one, but it's in Revenant's hands now. It doesn't matter who they are for Like Fighter. High five, brudda. Sincerely yours, A. Smarty Pants. Now we're in the POV of good old Mirage. Wraith notices that Mirage is in a rather cranky mood. Mirage tries to dismiss it, but there's no fooling the interdimensional skirmisher. So by utilizing her deductive tactics, she uncovers that Mirage is bothered by Loba having knowledge of his mother's health. And she was absolutely right. Caustic and Lifeline voiced their issues with her as well. But Bangalore is resilient, criticizing them on how easily they were coerced into searching uncharted lands with no knowledge of what they were even risking their lives for. Furthermore, she mentions that Loba and an employee named Yoko were setting up a meeting with the higher-ups at Hammond. So instead of walking away, she orders the Legends to play along and keep tabs on her. Funnily enough, Octane mentions that he's going on a date with a woman who has the same name. And what's more, she also works at the exact same company. How convenient. But before Lifeline chews him out, Bangalore uses this as an opportunity to get more info on what Loba's real intentions are, followed by a funny interaction with Mirage and Wraith. Wraith starts off the detached Chaperone, voicing her gripes with an immature Mirage blowing up the comms. After a bit of banter, Wraith tells Mirage to keep off of the channel as she returns to the star of the show, Octane and his date. Octane's rash behavior botches the job before slowly recovering with a promise for Bangalore's autograph. How convenient. Unbelievably convenient, actually. She's an employee working for a high-security robotics company, and she's releasing very delicate information simply because she might get the rare autograph from a legend that never sticks around during meet and greets. If we wanted to stretch our suspension of disbelief, then maybe she might be an irrational fangirl under the lab coat. But even then, she expressed disappointment when she came to the realization that Octane went out with her only to get information on the company she's working at. The fact that she switched up so quickly not only after the first mention of an autograph, but after the second is completely unrealistic. It seems like a small snag, but this conversation comes into play later in the story, and it causes huge movements plot-wise. If they gave the date a bit more time and Octane a bit more competence, then I can see him using his eccentricity to charm his way to the information. Sure, his personality is that he's impatient and always quick to action, but it would have been a great character moment to see him overcome his impulses for the greater good. We learned that Loba was after a source code inside a warehouse under Skulltown, and that Yoko's boss was interested in her so-called treasure. After hearing that her boss is in a deal with Loba to hand over the coordinates of the source code, Wraith again has her comms blown up by Mirage. At first she's annoyed, but in a sudden burst she opens a portal and grabs Octane. Wattson's down. After we return, Pathy tells us that Wattson was looking to fortify the area. As they searched inside, they found out that she was attacked. But the craziest part is that Caustic is even more depressed about this than Pathfinder, who then notes he hasn't left her side since the incident. Despite what's happening, Loba is still dead set on reminding everyone that the second half is still out there, but Caustic and his hands say otherwise as he grabs her throat, only to let go after obtaining sanity once again. Subsequently, Wraith questions if the artifact is even worth it. Loba cites that it is everything. Wraith pries further, but she doesn't ask about the artifact. She asks about the source code Loba almost got blown to pieces for, but before she can work up a response, 3 words: he's above you. Revenant has entered the fight. Octane takes the wheel of the liberated Narc, pleading for everything to slow down while Loba asks Revenant how the hell he knew to come to Mirage's bar. And Revenant stirs the pot by telling everyone that a mole is present in the group. The worst part is that this wasn't of his own accord. Someone did this out of the kindness of their cold dead heart. After Revenant waters the seeds of distrust in the minds of his enemies, Wraith tells him to get to the point. But instead, Revenant works to keep Loba looking over her shoulder, enjoying the many smaller victories rather than just offing her immediately. Before he finishes the job, Bangalore, Gibraltar, and Bloodhound run out of a portal, weapons in hand, ready to go toe-to-toe with death. Outnumbered and outgunned, Revenant heads for the hills. Bangalore tries to reassure, for the most part, a panicked Loba, saying that Revenant could have been anywhere listening in. Crypto thinks otherwise, but Bangalore quickly dismisses it to keep everyone level-headed, telling the team to prepare for danger, because it's going to get a lot more messy from here on out. Right as everyone starts to leave the room, Bangalore and Octane talk about the details of the intel he got from Yoko. Sadly, due to the attack on Wattson, it wasn't convincing enough to apply pressure to Loba's credibility. Octane becomes irritated with being the errand boy, but what Lifeline says next puts the icing on the cake. Feeling belittled, he goes to Wattson for advice. He's venting his issues with being a narc and constantly being told what to do while everyone else gets to go in guns blazing for the artifact pieces. To prove himself worthy of shipping out with the extraction team, he embarks on a quest of his own to find all of the artifact pieces before everyone else, vowing to never return until he can put it together himself. This moment most definitely would have had more power if he was forced to act as a man with etiquette during the date, because it would have caused him to push his true self away for orders he never wanted to follow. That small detail could have helped take huge leaps towards the development of his role in the story. Sadly, they contrived it all in place of looking to write a key character moment that might have solidified their efforts to advance Octane's displeasure with his assignments. Underfed character moment aside, let's move on to the next chapter. We cut to Lifeline telling Bangalore about Octane's note taped to Wattson's head. He writes about how being bossed around keeps him from following his triple Ds, and that if he's going to die looking for these pieces, he's going to die doing what he does best. Lifeline beckons Bangalore to send out a team to bring him back, but they need time to rest after the mission they just went through earlier in the day. Unsure of where to look, she calls up Wraith for some info on Yoko. Putting the information to good use, she immediately gets over to Yoko's house. Yoko initially rejects her, but in her haste to shut the door, Lifeline barges in and kidnaps her in desperation to keep Octane from blowing more limbs off. She returns to Bangalore, and before playing her hand, she shows her the real reason why Octane got pushed over the edge. The accountant line really got under her skin, and she's devastated to hear that she might lose her only friend because of a supposedly innocent joke that probably wasn't made at the best time. So she's willing to make a deal, her autograph for dirt on Loba. Seeing that it's a fair trade, Bangalore reluctantly gives in and signs for a transcript of Yoko and Octane's meeting. With this newfound information, they rush back to the bar to tell everyone about the operation to recover Octane. And before Lifeline and Jibby make it through the portal, Bangalore calls Loba and the gang to finally dish out the dirt on the Lone Wolf's secret. Lifeline cheers her on and moves swiftly to save her friend. Now in Loba's POV, she tells us that Wattson has regained consciousness and that Crypto is working with her to help assemble the rest of the artifact. She's almost home free, back to her normal life in her penthouse outside of the Apex games. But before she finishes her thought, we continue off of the last chapter with Bangalore calling the legends together for an important gathering, and without hesitation she starts breaking down the walls of Loba's front. Loba tries her best to bury it, but Bangalore reviews the transcript. The proof is all there, clear as day. Loba had been using the legends to finish Hammond's icky jobs for them. Pathy and Mirage question in desperation, why didn't she just trust them? Loba says there's no way because Revenant fights with them shoulder to shoulder in a blood sport, and it didn't help that his most recent attack brought the looming threat of a mole in the team either. The feeling's mutual for Wraith as she goes for the jugular and asks for the final time, what exactly does the source code do? Loba can't say due to the mole, but never fear, Caustic in his big mouth is here. It's his head. After a small amount of time working with simulacrum technology, he tells us that the emotions, the memories, the personality, it's all built in the human brain tissue that's inserted into a simulacrum's head. Revenant, however, is special. Since his original tissue is in that source code, he can't die with a shot to the head like the rest. Instead, he'll just go into another body, or even worse, eat the bullet like it's Tuesday. You have to go for the source. Fascinating. Loba is distraught at the idea of the mole bringing back this information to Revenant, and after knowing this, he'll kill her in her sleep. She can't fail.
Ouch.
Crypto is ready to roll out, but Wraith thinks this might be a way to get a one-up on Hammond. Build it, find out what it is, and then destroy it, because if not them, Hammond will just find someone else and the plan stays in effect. Just then, a portal opens with Lifeline and Gibby bringing out an artifact piece and Octane, in critical condition with both of his legs gone. While they work like paramedics after a traffic accident, Loba grills Bangalore for being the driving force to her impending doom, but Bangalore shows no remorse. All alone in Sansa crew, all bets are off. Making it out alive is more a privilege than a right at this point. Revenant will die by her hand, even if it kills her. Either way, she's not going to keep the devil waiting any longer. "I'm an idiot," says Crypto as he's in awe of Wattson's technical engineering ability. She's explaining how the artifact's mechanisms work, and that it was made by a woman as its design is coy and mysterious. Have you heard Burglar's best friend?
Don't drive safe.
Crypto calls her a smarty pants. Somehow she's never heard that name before, but Crypto explains that his mother used to call him that all the time. He apologizes, but she says not to because she never knew what she was missing. It honestly doesn't get any more bittersweet than that. After a bit more banter, they tell each other that they really like working together. He tells Hack to keep watch as he gathers another piece she asked for, and before he leaves, she asks why Hack wasn't programmed with a personality. He replies saying that it's just a drone, but she insists on implementing jokes because drones can still have a little fun. She might even suggest some because after he says he'll think about it, he asks her for the whereabouts of that missing piece she mentioned. Dataway. Obviously it's cheesy, but you can't help but smile after hearing it. Even Crypto mentions that he's made that joke in the past as well. After he leaves the room, he turns to a shaken up Loba and a pseudo-paramedic team desperate to fix up half an Octane. Crypto calls them idiots, but at least they're entertaining idiots. As he starts to ask Gibraltar about the piece, Wattson calls out with a blood-curdling scream. He's back. Not completely though. He's possessed Hack, using him as a messenger to further shake up the group. Loba asks Crypto how the hell he got into the drone, but he has no clue. Hack isn't hackable. Revenant has wasted no time to mention that the mole has gotten to him about his source code, with a dad joke while referring to Wattson. After terrorizing her once again, he flies over to Loba to give her one last message. One last reminder about how all of her resources, all of her friends, are gone, and that her days are numbered, before coming out of Hack and leaving the drone to drop from the air. Loba questions Crypto about the amount of people Hack has been around for the last 48 hours. Crypto answers that it was only around him and Wattson, who then replies with a joke referring to her recommendation of a personality for Hack, in a dire attempt to ease the tension, but to no avail. Crypto tries to reach out, but he sees something in her eyes. It's in everyone else's eyes as well. Already knowing what's next, he brings about the million-dollar question. Why would he let Revenant use his drone? Bangalore replies, "You wouldn't, unless you were the mole." Crypto is caught in the hot seat, outnumbered and without a plan. We follow the lead of the shattered spirit Wattson, and before we get to her thoughts, Crypto and Bangalore continue. She wants to know if there's someone out there who can actually hack his drone. He says again that he doesn't know. Octane adds that his unhackable drone is named Hack, and by that action he's basically asking for it. Crypto dismisses his comment and turns to his newfound friend for help, asking why would he make being the mole so obvious. Wattson agrees, although she doesn't let anyone know that. But Caustic barges in, saying that it's a brilliant plan to make it so obvious he's being framed that he, by default, is not considered a suspect. It only goes downhill from here. The original trio, Mirage, Wraith, and Pathfinder, come back through a portal with yet another artifact piece. Bangalore fills them in on the situation at hand. To everyone's surprise, Mirage defends Crypto. His words might hold weight because he hates his guts, but he immediately backtracks upon learning that Crypto is a lot older than he originally was told. Crypto then inquires the team, what could he possibly gain from helping him? Caustic replies with, the Syndicate, which is the organization that supposedly kidnapped his foster sister and took away whatever stability his life had. Both the Syndicate and Hammond are pretty much on the way of Revenant's mission, so who wouldn't want to hitch a ride on the revenge train to get to their destination? He also states that Crypto wants the power of the artifact for himself, not for Hammond. It makes perfect sense. But then Crypto goes, no you. Caustic for the second time is taken aback, and Crypto mentions that he's been preparing that speech. I mean, it is a bit weird that he seems to know a hell of a lot about everyone's intentions about everything, especially when you consider in the beginning when Loba was spilling secrets she said nothing about Crypto. So how would Caustic know about that? I have no idea why they didn't let Crypto mention that because it's not that far-fetched. Wattson then sides with Caustic, saying it's too complex a web to spin? And for what purpose? First off, what purpose? Did you forget that you guys fought side by side? All of his experiments end in the suffering of a human being. He talks about it all the time.
Life is meant to die. Accept your fates. many willing test subjects. The kill is more important than the prize. Another trial, another test subject.
Even Bangalore mentions that one of the reasons she helped her crew in Shadow King's Canyon was so that they weren't a result of one of Caustic's experiments. Whether it was a joke or not, it's obvious that it's something that concerns them. But okay, let's stretch our suspension of disbelief and entertain the idea that they actually 100% trusted Caustic. So you'll say that preparing a speech just in case he gets accused of being a mole is too complex a web to spin, but Crypto self-reporting when nobody suspected him as the mole during and before this time isn't? It would make zero sense to not only launch an attack with his own drone, but to also attack the one person Hack was in close proximity with besides Crypto himself. Why stir the pot if the pot didn't need stirring at all? It's such a stupid move, even more so from one of the most brilliant minds in the Outlands. It seems to me that the odds were already stacked against him even before being accused. Anyway, Caustic replies by saying that he doesn't need preparation, and that Crypto is desperate as he has no reason to frame him. No reason? This is where, that sounds like something a mole would say, quote, would come in handy. What do you mean you have no reason? You and the person you're arguing with are the main suspects in this current moment. The Revenant attack is clear evidence that Crypto is off the hook for now. The fact that you know something about Crypto and only Crypto that Loba never mentioned is very telling of who you're trying to make enemies with. You have every reason to frame him and then some. You couldn't have come up with a better comeback than that? I thought you didn't need preparation. So then Mirage replies trying to ease the tension, mustering up a joke about what they should do to spite- Wait. No. Mirage, shut up. That's it? No reply from Crypto? No clapback? No comment? Really? Sure, you might say that he was caught like a deer in headlights, but if we go back a bit, Crypto quickly redirected enemy fire back at Caustic with a pretty convincing revelation after being accused of self-reporting. And instead of attacking the argument, Caustic ran around it by directly indirecting his response from the accusation and just resorted to, I have no reason to frame you, I'm much too smart for that. Which holds zero weight as I just displayed multiple reasons why you would want to shift the blame from yourself. Knowing all of this, all eyes should be off of Crypto and instead onto Caustic by means of Crypto responding to a straw man, but Respawn didn't write these characters to have any type of synapses go off in their heads, so they're just gonna side with Caustic anyways. If they showed signs of distrust in Crypto in past chapters, then this would be a lot more believable. The attack could have been a last-ditch effort, or the final nail in the coffin by the hammer that is Revenant. Yes, you could say that Crypto accusing Bangalore of being the mole in Chapter 3 might have drawn suspicions, but A, nobody but the accused ever mentioned that he made the accusation throughout any of the chapters up until this point, and B, the accused successfully dismissed it in a snap with no static. And not to mention Caustic's fat ass was nowhere to be found, so he didn't chime in with his 2 cents like he's doing now. This entire situation makes no sense, and the Legends are assholes for abandoning Crypto so easily just because Caustic had a convincing argument. Sure, he told the group that Crypto has a bone to pick with the Syndicate, which is even more damning because that's personal information that once again, not even Loba brought up, but remember that Caustic's MO is watching the world burn. You're just as liable to scrutiny as Crypto is, if not even more because I just previously went over why Revenant's attack could at the very least give Crypto's innocence credibility. And you seemed pretty quick to the draw the moment Bangalore brought the mole accusation to Crypto, bullets loaded and hammer ready to be fanned. But the most disrespectful thing here is that Crypto doesn't even get a chance to reply to Caustic because of a joke from Mirage that isn't even close to how funny he can actually be.
Why don't you just ask the new guy?
What, he ain't too bad of a hacker. Knows everything about anything.
Hey, buddy. I hear you're the second smartest guy in the Outlands. Wink.
It's a cheap way to redirect the situation away from the initial argument to get the plot moving, and at that point, it's just sloppy writing. There was a perfect opportunity to build Crypto and Caustic's rivalry. If anything, the argument could have been at an intellectual stalemate, interrupted by Bangalore to focus their energy on the core issue, and that's getting the rest of these artifacts and protecting Loba. But instead, Caustic just bat his eyelashes and they all fell in line. Probably spent too much time on this occurrence, but again, this causes huge movements in the plot. Not only that, but it instantaneously assassinated an underused character that was slowly gaining more and more depth as time went on, and this is especially critical if you consider the fact that this is the most he's present in the story at all. This was by far one of their biggest opportunities to make an already obscure legend feel more dominant with the rest of the cast, and they binned it just to keep the story moving along. What a waste. Anyway, after Mirage ruins the emotional tone and Bangalore looks for a way to keep Loba out of Revenant's claws, Crypto tries to prove his innocence to Wattson one last time. Caustic says something retarded, and then Wattson tells everyone that she needs a place to clear her head and calm down. Wraith accepts her offer, looks at Crypto, and does what I think is probably the most morally correct thing out of any of the legends pertaining to the whole mole situation. We'll sort this out. You have my word. But for now, she asks for space. God damn it, Wraith. Where were you when Crypto needed help? It frustrates me that she didn't have much to say in this story because she could have assisted Crypto and gotten him out of his jam. Shit, if it was written correctly, Crypto could have done it himself. But if you add Wraith to the mix, then you basically can just aimbot the accusations. I'm sure they kept her quiet for that specific reason, which instantaneously assassinates her character as well, because she's always ready to fight for what's right, as seen by her animation and even throughout this story itself. So you cannot tell me, even after applying the tiniest iota of logic, that after going through that portal and learning about the situation, she wouldn't jump to Crypto's defense, or at the very least give him as good a chance to explain himself as Caustic had. If I'm wrong, I'll be happy to be proven so. But this mole argument has to be the lowest point in the Broken Ghost storyline. The Octane date contrivance doesn't even come close. Wattson gives out one final monologue about how she won't forget what her father told her, that the world is a cold and cruel place, and that she won't be as trusting as she used to be. Probably advice worth taking because the one person you trusted was the legend that gets a kick out of killing people and also had one of the worst comebacks on a mole argument in history. But hey, you live and you learn, am I right? In the Unwavering Protector, Gibraltar tries to reason with Caustic, telling him that it's not good for the rest of the legends to be at odds with each other when so much is already at stake. Caustic displays how he couldn't care less about the childish affairs of adolescence. I'm sure just previously Wattson mentioned that Crypto was over 30, but nitpicks I guess. Gibraltar bites back, making it clear that he always fights for the little guy and stands up to bullies. Caustic says that Gibraltar should take the importance of what he's fighting for into consideration. He further explains that he does what he can to omit any distractions to Wattson's work, as she has a mind of pure natural talent. First standing over her bed when she's in a coma, and now this. Wouldn't take such a tactical murderous scientist for a simp. Gibraltar says that she never asked for his help. Caustic says no you, but Gibby explains that he's protecting her, and Caustic is just manipulating her. Caustic again tries to strawman his way to victory, but Gibby counters saying that he's pulling strings that don't need to be pulled. And now we learn of Caustic's true intentions. He was the mole the whole time! Shocker, I know. He constantly fed information to Revenant because he wanted to end Loba, as she knows of an event that's extremely personal to him. We also can't forget that he is a tier 3 sub to Wattson's engineering, so he used Crypto as a scapegoat, while also leaving him as a traitor in Wattson's eyes, which then takes the spotlight off of Caustic and lets Wattson push the progress of her work as planned. If the writing was airtight, then this would be true, but the entire argument in the previous chapter should have unmasked him as the mole instantaneously. Like I said, if he was letting everyone's suspicions towards Crypto snowball push after push over the chapters and rolled it into an attack that ultimately marked Crypto as the mole, then this plan would have been more plausible and Caustic could have shown to be quite the formidable foe, rather than just contriving Wattson into siding with him when his argument wasn't the slightest bit convincing, which I guess you can say is a product of him manipulating her, but they haven't had any interactions before now. Which is yet another missed opportunity because not only would it make Caustic a force to be reckoned with, it would help Wattson feel more present in the story as well. Her innocence being tested could have played a huge part in terms of conflict. If she had more time to develop before she got attacked, her fragility and tendency to be manipulated would hold more weight because we'd be invested into her struggles dealing with trauma after being inches from death. In her mission to stay composed, Caustic could be shown trying to help her recover, because he sees an intelligence the likes of which he hasn't seen before, and soon after he'd be shown as a caring father figure for Wattson, but it starts to turn into an obsession when Crypto is assigned to help her with the artifact. Caustic couldn't bear to see her with anyone but himself, because who else could tame Wattson's ever-expanding mind? That's a job for Caustic and Caustic alone, so he alters his deal with Revenant to get in between Wattson and Crypto. Drops some breadcrumbs hinting at Crypto being the mole for the team, and he can get Revenant that heart-to-heart with Loba. The team starts suspecting Crypto more and more throughout the chapters, and when the time is right, Revenant possesses his drone, causing Crypto to be casted out, with Caustic moving back into where he belongs, at the helm with his most valuable experiment under his control. It would have been great if we got this kind of build-up because it develops both Caustic and Wattson's characters, while at the same time giving Crypto a chance to prove himself as an asset to the team. You get to bond with Wattson and Caustic as they share more time together, like they're part of a family. But on the way, we get small bites of Crypto getting closer and closer to unveiling Caustic as the master manipulator that he is. It's nice to see Crypto winning, but a part of us opposes his mission. The hero has to win, but the bad has never felt so good. Imagine how gut-wrenching it would be to see Wattson destroyed again after opening her heart to who she thought cared so much for her. Not only that, but her and Caustic's father-daughter dynamic would be shattered. Caustic would be showing emotion for the first time in anguish trying to put the pieces back together, leaving us dumbfounded at who to choose. Nevertheless, the jig is up. Wraith comes to her aid, and Caustic disappears into the distance by means of his gas cloud, never to be seen again until the next season, leaving our heartstrings tugged in two different directions, justice or peace. Anyway, Caustic then tries to tell him that the legends don't give a damn about each other and that they're just looking out for number one. Gibraltar gives out an inspirational speech and looks to prove him wrong by calling up the team so that they can all come together and get this mission done. Bangalore and Bloodhound come in with another piece, and Bangalore finds out that they're just building Revenant's head. Gibby tries to reassure her, noting that there's more to that head than it's leading on, and that we'll find out more when the rest of the team gets here. But Bangalore tells them that they all split up to find the final pieces and finish the fight. Gibraltar is a little disappointed, but notices that Bangalore is loaded, and questions if her arsenal is for going after Loba. She replies that no one goes down on her watch, and that whether Revenant is dead or Loba comes back alive, this ends tonight. Here we are, the climax of the storyline. Bangalore starts off recollecting on how her bias against Loba is about to get her killed. This is her way of making things right. As she takes a vantage point to get a bird's eye view, Loba and Revenant finally meet. Before he sharpens his blade, Loba activates auto turrets ahead of time. She came prepared, and Bangalore misjudged her. Loba showing her worth to the team needed a lot more time in the oven, but we've already gotten this far, so we might as well close it now. However, Revenant didn't arrive to kill Loba. He came to help her? She stays vigilant, rejecting his olive branch, to which he refers to how much revenge he's come across in his 300 years of existence, and how many snipers he's encountered as Overwatch. Damn it. He talks about humans and the pain they deal with, informing us on how he lives through it all in a constant cycle of complete torture. Before his systems malfunctioned, his memories will be wiped clean to give him the illusion that he was experiencing life for the first time. But on that fateful day, 300 years of fear, trauma, paranoia, the faces he murdered, it all rushed back in a single second, with every second after being nothing but hell. So he needed Loba, who was on her way to find his source code, to finally put an end to his suffering. She knew the whereabouts, she wants revenge. It's all tied up in a big red bow. She's his savior. It's merely fixing a clerical error that occurred 3 centuries ago. It's putting a broken ghost to rest. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Loba is stunned, but Revenant is teeming with happiness at the thought of his life finally being put to an end. It's saccharine, sickeningly sweet, if you will. Before he leaves into the night, he looks to Bangalore and hands her a parting gift. See you on the field, soldier. After he leaves, Bangalore gets an urgent call from Gibby. They finally finish the artifact. It is of the utmost importance that they get their stat, because Hammond also said to deliver the device so that Loba can be handed the source code. And before we close off, Bangalore asks one final question. What are you going to do? Loba's entire mission, her drive to risk her life in the Apex games, was to get revenge for her parents. But what's the point of revenge if the only person it satisfies is the recipient? What is she going to do? For the first time in a long time, she has no clue. And that's The Broken Ghost. As for the verdict, is it as good as I remember? Hell no! But there were some highlights here and there. For starters, the text format wouldn't have been my preferred method of storytelling, but the way certain sentences are created to mesh with the sound effects really helps monitor the gravity of a situation, and it does so without being obnoxious. Despite being the most underutilized compartment, some of the characters really do have their moments, and I especially love how the text captures their personalities. Bangalore's sense of urgency, quick thinking, and leadership displays her time as a soldier coming into play, and she does a great job being a general despite being shoved into the role on short notice. Lifeline's dialogue during her mission to convince Bangalore was a highlight for me as well. You can feel the desperation and her sadness through the text. It does a good job at voicing her cry for help when she finds out that her actions caused Octane to risk his life on a suicide mission. The kidnapping also showcased how much she cares for Octane. It was a questionable decision, sure, but time was of the essence. She didn't have much choice. Yoko definitely should have been a lot more concerned for her safety, and Lifeline should have had bigger pushback for committing a crime, especially when her source of information came from Wraith of all people. But I'll give it a pass as it's one of the more potent moments in the story. As for Revenant,
hey, that's pretty good.
He instilled such a fearful presence as this story's villain with wit and comebacks to boot. He got active as well. He wasn't just sitting around waiting for something to happen. You never knew when he would strike, but when he did, he made sure it left a scar. The twist in the end gave so much more depth to his character. I'm glad Respawn took the sympathetic approach because not only does this give him a legitimate purpose, but it also gives Loba the chance to gain some much needed development as well. They did a pretty good job with those moments and characters in isolation. Bottom line, sure it has major pacing problems, huge contrivances, and many missed opportunities, most notably in terms of characters like Wraith, Octane, Mirage, Crypto especially, Caustic, Wattson, and funnily enough, Loba, who definitely deserved a bit of a redemption arc, or if anything, more time in the story. I mean, she's pretty much the reason the story exists, yet she's nothing more than going AWOL at the end. Not to mention a completely useless chapter that ruined what could have been a strong villain for the next storyline. But there was boundless potential here to be had. If Respawn is smart, they can capitalize on the good things and make a quality continuation that solidifies Apex's stake in the lore game. They can learn from their mistakes and create a longer, more sufficiently paced story with carefully crafted characters, extra campaign-like PvE levels, and setups with payoffs that make sense and are satisfying. How is the team going to react to Caustic being the mole? What will they do when they find out Revenant's true intentions? Can Crypto bandage his relationship with Wattson? Why is Olympus so important? Are Lifeline and Octane getting a bigger role as we return to their hometown? Will we see their relatives? What business does Ash have with Hammond? Will Hammond even have a part to play in the future of this timeline? We have our new legend, we have our new map, we have our theories, and we have our new season. All we have to do is sit and wait patiently as the next chapter in the Outlands opens up. See you in Olympus, soldier. Now, I'm not going to outright say it's Respawn's fault. Yet. Rampart and New World's Edge were released in place of Ash and Olympus because, unfortunately, Olympus wasn't ready to be rolled out in Season 6 like they planned. While I do think it would have been better to put out the Vault, the Battle Pass, and New World's Edge without a legend as a means to tide the community over until they got Olympus to function, this can still work. Rampart might be a fun addition to the cast. Gibraltar and Bangalore are shown to be great friends in our story from the Outlands, so hopefully we can get some kind of understanding on their relationship and how they met. Oh, it's just a comic, stretched out in small chapters over 7 weeks, without a single PvE level. In Chapter 1 of the first ship, Mirage's Paradise Lounge... Wait, Mirage? Did we just forget that her story from the Outlands existed? We barely touched the first page and they've already lost the plot. What does Mirage have to do with any of this? Did I miss something between seasons? Is there a comic somewhere that I know nothing about? Now you get why I don't like it when companies spread the information across so many different platforms. Anyway, Mirage's lounge is dropping in numbers, so Wraith lets Rampart move into his house to help with the extra costs by means of renting a room. Shouldn't be difficult nowadays, Wraith's a genius. But during the chaos, Pathfinder mentions that he has a girlfriend? Definitely not what I was expecting to be the focal point of this comic, but okay, I guess. Mirage is calling out to Wraith, but he gets two-piece comboed by who is revealed to be Rampart. Mirage talks to Rampart about Pathy's new girlfriend, and she tells him that she's known for weeks because he never stopped talking about her. So Mirage attempts to get a little more info on what's going on, but Rampart tells him that he's a bit obsessed with Pathy and that he wants him all to himself. Then Mirage replies with, "Oh god, don't you go using my already standing in quicksand sexuality to confuse me." Yep, okay, moving on. Finally, he discloses that he'd bet anything on Pathfinder's girlfriend being crazy. Rampart takes the bet serious and wagers that if Pathfinder's girlfriend is actually rational, she can move her shop into his apartment. Mirage tosses his hat in, and in return, he can ask Rampart to make anything he wants free of charge. After shaking hands, they travel to Pathfinder's humble abode, and is shown to be more than excited to finally introduce his soon-to-be better half to his friends. Her name is Ash? Wait, what the fuck? No, what the hell were you guys thinking? I gave the Season 6 delay a pass because I assumed you would just save Ash for the season after. With all of that extra time, you could have worked on Rampart's development for the story ahead. Even though that shit's already been thrown out the window after the first page. Instead, you just slap her in here as a side character? Why? You had all that build-up from Season 5. Apex and Titanfall finally clashing together into what could be a season for the ages. All you had to do was focus on Rampart and only Rampart. But somehow in your bird-brained mind, you thought it was a good idea to just shove your big event in as a funny haha for Pathfinder. Maybe she has a role to play here that develops into something bigger for Season 7? Maybe this is a way to tell the fans that they haven't forgotten about Season 5. Maybe this is a setup after the setup to prolong the previous setup. It's a bit of an unnecessary risk, but I'll take anything at this point. With that in mind, let's proceed. Mirage calls Pathfinder over for a little chat, saying to travel with caution as he's dating Loba's head. But Pathfinder has a story to explain himself. He found her in a dumpster behind Hammond Labs, and as she awakens, she mentions that she only remembers Hammond taking codes from her memory banks. Deep breaths. So they just gave her up? We don't even get to see the thought processing behind any of this? Nobody discussed it? Nobody opposed the idea? Let's backtrack for a bit, shall we? Didn't they have a whole conversation where they planned to go along with Loba and Hammond only so that they could find out what the artifact really was for themselves, just in case it might be a weapon of mass destruction? Sure, after seeing Ash, they might have switched up, but it would have been great to see what changed their minds to give her up to Hammond so easily. But Dara, you say? Didn't Gibraltar mention that Hammond was prepared to hand over the source code? Yes, but that still doesn't explain why everyone thought it was a good idea to give the people that they were conspiring against the whole mission, the very item that they almost lost their lives for and were repeatedly lied to about. They stated multiple times that it could possibly leave the Outlands devastated. After all of the information given to us in the mindsets of the legends all throughout the Broken Ghost, I find it hard to believe that they would just give her up that easily because there's no benefit to giving her up other than Loba being able to kill Revenant, which, need I remind you, the only one who cared at the time was Bangalore. And the only reason I say cared is because Bangalore was only trying to save Loba's life from a situation she thinks she herself caused. But after hearing that Revenant never wanted to kill Loba in the first place, Bangalore has no motivation to protect her anymore. Thus, there is no reason for her to even think about giving up the artifact. But you know what? Let's stretch our suspension of disbelief again. Stretch it wide, because I'm going to actually entertain the idea that Bangalore and Loba developed feelings for each other in the span of a single chapter. That still doesn't explain the rest of the team. Everyone else has expressed their disdain towards Loba in many ways, and rightfully so because she put so many of them in danger whilst also lying to them at the same time. And no, don't give me that, well now they know why Loba lied to them, her life is in danger so they're friends now excuse. Although I'm a sucker for morally gray story choices, I won't let that dissuade me from acknowledging the actions that were committed to label the choices gray in the first place. The point of a story with morally gray characters is to question the idea of the moral compass, to push it to its limits. Not to completely discern that whatever the person is doing is 100% right because the ends justify the means. At that point, it's not gray anymore. I stated previously that Loba put lives in danger and lied to the legends on several occasions. I don't care that she was inches away from death. If anyone turned a cold shoulder to her in favor of inspecting and possibly destroying an artifact that could again completely devastate the Outlands, I wouldn't put it past them. Bangalore would have her reasons, and the rest of the team would have theirs. So I reiterate. It would make absolutely zero sense for anyone in the team besides Bangalore, maybe, to give up such a dangerous artifact. It's inconsistent writing disguised as a time jump and you know it. You may have the fans fooled, but I'm onto you. Anyway, Rampart tries to make conversation but is interrupted by Ash in pain repeating the ending of The Broken Ghost. After deafening the trio, she tells Pathfinder that she needs a moment alone. It turns out that the loud noises and malfunctioning was a radio frequency channeling into her communications unit. A familiar voice making arrangements to meet once again. Meanwhile, Mirage and Rampart are fighting with each other about their bet's victor. Annoyed at their immaturity, Wraith disputes the debate, saying that she would vote Mirage because Ash doesn't sound all there. But she doesn't because he made fun of people with amnesia? Yeah, this is a thing. Mirage apparently had no idea people inflicted with amnesia existed. But at that point, it's not really a dig, it's just something he didn't know. And even if it was a dig, how does that alone make him lose the bet? He wagered that she was crazy, and you agreed that she was crazy. But all because he made an ill-informed comment the point should go to Rampart? You're not making any sense here. Instead, they both win, or lose, but both need to... Let's just move on before I get sick from how awful this writing is. After an awkward segue where Wraith tells the duo that the dropship is leaving, I don't even care anymore. This chapter is pretty much just a flashback to whatever happened to Ash's head before the broken ghost, and he mentions that another old friend has arrived as well. We're treated to yet another awkward segue to Pathy, but he's sad. Ash left him a note thanking him for his hospitality. Very emotion for Pathfinder. Anyways, Mirage put all of Rampart's tools and workbench on the dropship, and she's like super mad, and Mirage goes whoopsies, and the comic ends. What the fuck? Who greenlit this? Were they even trying? Like, at all? So many chapters, yet nothing was said. There's no coherent plot, no stakes, no goal, no endgame. It's just Mirage and Rampart yelling at each other page after page. Wraith's IQ dropped to room temperature, Ash is thrown away, figuratively and literally. We don't even get the consolation prize of seeing what led up to the legends giving Ash away. We never find out how Rampart knows Bangalore and Gibraltar, and Blisk is shoved in to tickle the balls of Titanfall 2 fans. The writing is vastly different from Broken Ghost. Sure, back in Season 5 it wasn't perfect, far from it, but at least it had some weight to it, and it was always progressing with a central focus in mind. Build the artifact, kill Revenant, and find out what Hammond is planning. Not to mention that there are some good character moments as well. Also, PvE levels? This is an astronomical step down from Season 5 in terms of story. I would have been willing to give them a pass if they didn't just waste one of their biggest setups to dangle keychains in front of their diehard fans' faces, but sadly Ash turned into an E-plot for a D-plot type of main story. The comic format is some of Respawn's emptiest work yet. The filler frames, the sound barrier breaking pacing, the third grade writing, and the muddled artwork, it's obvious they rushed this out and they never had to. I have no idea why in the world Respawn thought they had to rush out anything. Like I said, if they just went with the Season 5.5 idea to tide people over until they got Olympus together, they could have had more time to come through the door blasting with fresh new content. They had plenty of ideas on the table and they just went for the worst one, and that's quantity over quality. But you know what? Fine, whatever. Maybe the comic was just a bit of a fluke. Ash and Olympus could still work for seasons.
Oh dear. Not very light on his feet, is he?
Hopefully Horizon brings something to Ash's... The comic isn't even about Horizon? It's bad enough that Ash got banned from canon, but Horizon doesn't even get a comic? I'm a Lifeline fan at heart, so this should be exciting to me, but no. I hate that it's a comic again, first and foremost. Second, I hate that Ash isn't the main focus. And third, what this tells me is that any hope of the Broken Ghost ever getting mentioned again has been shut down. After this, it's nothing but random bullshit to promote whatever legend they release. Previous characters be damned. Oh, what do I mean by that? Well, allow me, if you've made it this far, to give you one last example. One final dying whimper from our storytelling prodigies. Seasons 6 through 8 have nothing on the character ruining sludge that is Season 9. Not only did they release their most boring legend personality-wise, they also used a previously established character to boost her name up because Season 8 was debatably their worst season yet. And rightfully so. Season 9's legend is nothing but key jangling for communities of all ages. A new get-out-of-jail-free card for the Apex community, and bare-bone connections to Viper and Blisk for the Titanfall community. Other than that, she's equipped with the personality of a well-done steak. When I heard that they were putting in a Japanese character, my ears perked with excitement. The creative juices were flowing yet again. They could occasionally speak Japanese like Crypto with Korean, and they could be heavily influenced by things like samurai and cherry blossoms. Of course, it doesn't have to specifically be those things. If there's any type of Japanese influence, I'm here for it. They even said that they read Death Note. Death Note is one of my favorite animes of all time. I couldn't wait to see what they had. Then the story from the Outlands released, and essentially what we got is an Asian Bangalore, but instead of having a sense of urgency and prevalence, she's narcissistic, an alcoholic, and a player. Which wouldn't be a problem if she had any redeeming qualities that can be attributed to her growth from her aforementioned weaknesses. Tony Stark is a perfect example. However, that's not what we got on display here. Her quips are nothing but army speak,
Splash 1, bogey down. Tango Delta. Fox 3, missile off the rails.
like Bangalore.
Gonna lay some lead down range. Got a feeling tangos have been here. Area compromised.
Facts about care packages that nobody asked for but gets said anyways because she wants to look smarter than everyone else.
Incoming care package. Pro tip, don't try intercepting something at Mach 1.
Lines about how good she is at flying.
School, nobody expects a ground pounder like you to reach great heights. Let's see you try that. Oh wait, you got no wings. You got no wings.
How much of an alcoholic she is.
And put it on my tab. First blood? Man, imagine passing out before even taking a sip. Last one to the bridge is buying the first round. We just shot down the kill leader. So, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
And how many women she stole and woohooed.
I'm the new kill leader. Lock up your women in wine, cause I'm on a roll. Ha! Bandits dropping faster than your girl's inhibitions. I like my women like I like my sake. Cool, unfiltered, and on someone else's tab. Your girl's gonna be heartbroken when she hears the news. I'll tell her you said bye.
Her father's death is the one thing that sheds light onto her character and it's just casted aside, which is counterproductive if you remember that her father is fucking Viper. You take one of your most iconic villains as the motivation for your new character and you only mention them a handful of times throughout the game? Are you out of your fucking mind? This could have been the perfect opportunity to know more about Viper and his backstory. Seeing that he had a daughter might have compelled us to feel remorseful considering we had to fight him in the war. But nope, we just get a couple of flashbacks, some funny ha-has, and we just yeet him out the 3rd floor window while we look for other ways to regain our day 1 numbers once again. One more thing, her voice is by far one of the most ear-grating voices I've ever heard in my life. I'm not shitting on the voice actress, not at all. In the complete and utter dumpster fire that is Young Justice Season 4, she did great as Child. I hated that arc because it was just boring, contrived, magical techno-babble, but Child was definitely a highlight.
I'm not anyone's lapdog. We're partners.
Are you, though? Are you really? I can taste him here. Tastes like disappointment.
I know she has talent, so it has to be Respawn's fault. Because why in the fucking did you direct her voice to sound like a DaBaby song? Every voice line has the same dehydrated tone, the same vocal fry, the same cadence. Even if she's under attack, nothing changes except her volume and maybe her pitch, by a small margin.
Heads up, attacking over there. Attacking here, attacking there. Other squads have already been there. Bandit squad's been here. Bandit squad's been here.
Wraith has a monotone voice as well, but the difference is she puts in the work to express the emotion that's appropriate for the situation.
I'm gonna make a move. Attacking here. Attacking there. Attacking there. People have been through here. Someone's been here. Someone's been here.
With Valk, it's just copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. But for a very small, teeny tiny, minuscule window, Valk actually tries to sound like a human being for once. And do you want to guess what that window is? Do you want to fucking guess? It's when she talks about her father.
I'm an apex predator. We did it, Dad. I did it.
I know I said I wasn't going to rant today, but Valk's inclusion left such a terrible taste in my mouth. Everything about her and the whole season even felt like such a slap in the face. Like I'm a kid constantly asking to be fed after being neglected for what felt like years, and in a disappointed fashion they just have an exasperated gasp and go, "Oh my god, fine, just take it already." But I felt it the most when it came to their shitty new comic, the Legacy Antigen. Yes, this is a long one, much longer than their previous comics. That would be a plus, but it's in the fall chapter of the video, so you know we're in for a ride on this one. I know I already wasted so much of your time ranting over an ATM disguised as a first-person shooter, but stay with me for just a little bit longer. It'll all be over very, very soon. In the prologue, we see the origin of what the adversary is for our heroes today. Overgrown plants secreting a substance that causes a fatal disease, with hints that its occurrence might have been planned. In the first chapter, the team gets sent to check out the vessel that the disease originated from. After some out-of-nowhere, in-your-face flirting from Loba, due to standing dangerously close to an open hatch with no jump kit, she gets grabbed by a plant and is taken into the abyss. Remember how careful Loba used to be? Remember when she took a dropship with automated turrets when she squared up against Revenant? Remember when she would tread lightly with the information she had about the source code to make sure that the possible mold didn't get clued in on her plans? Nah, me neither. Bangalore assumes the worst, but never fear. The get-out-of-jail-free card is here with a goodie bag of S-tier zingers. After telling them facts they already know to look smart, somehow Bangalore, the one that didn't get grabbed by the plan, is infected with the disease, and tells us that we have 3 days to find a cure. In the next panel, the legends all come together again to help find a way to save Bangalore. Why is I forgot. The Broken Ghost just isn't canon anymore. Ash is in arenas, Loba is retarded, and Caustic's just buddy-buddy with everyone in the exact squad that he fucked over on multiple occasions. Nice. After a pointless argument about engineers not being useful and more information that's already been divulged to us about the origins of the ship, Caustic, for no discernible reason, makes a joke about the possibility of a mole sniffing around. So now the Broken Ghost is canon? But I thought it wasn't. For 3 whole seasons. But now it is? You did it! You broke me! Respawn, pick a lane. Is it canon or is it not? Let me repeat. Is it canon or is it not? Fuck! Then he says too soon? Okay, one question. How far apart is this from the Broken Ghost? There's no way it could be close enough to warrant a too soon joke. For Respawn's sake, it is imperative that this comic is miles away from the Broken Ghost in terms of the story's overall timeline, because if it is close enough to warrant a too soon joke, then the complete disconnect of the characters from then to now is catastrophic. Keep in mind that we only kept tabs on Rampart, Mirage, Wraith, Lifeline, Gibby, and Octane. Kind of Bloodhound if you count Season 8's comic. Other than that, everyone else was completely absent. Yet somehow Wattson and Crypto are friends again. Caustic was outed as the mole, and yet he's still on the team. Revenant is nowhere to be found despite Loba having the source code. Bangalore and Loba are pretty much together, but also not really though, even though there are signs clearly hinting at their relationship. What in the fucking happened in between the Broken Ghost and the Legacy Antigen with the missing characters? All of these changes and no build-up. They just are who they are because instead of developing them into their present mindsets, which I don't even condone anyways because it ruined the characters they changed, let's just make them that way because our comic called for it. Are you out of your fucking mind? Anyway, apparently Caustic's mother is the new patient and he gets angry so he charges at Crypto, who also tells us that he was raised by her as well. I have no idea what this is even a thing, but we're just gonna go with it. In order to find the cure, they have to find the disease's place of origin, which are creatures called Carthage spiders. Caustic adds that the enzyme that they produce is where they'll find their cure, and that their whereabouts is him and Crypto's hometown. Valkyrie eavesdrops on Loba's call to bodyguards keeping Bangalore safe. She asks about the bodyguards, and Loba brings up her history with Revenant. In classic Respawn fashion, we awkwardly segue to Caustic talking to Crypto about making sure his mother knows that he isn't alive, but gets interrupted by Bloodhound warning the crew about the mission as they're landing. They try to do this cool thing showing the legend strapping up while Bloodhound gives them their orders, but honestly it's just wasting more frames and it holds no weight because I lost interest about a fifth of the way in. In the next chapter, Valk arbitrarily trips into Loba, and as Valk displays more cringe, Loba focuses on the situation at hand. To Valk's annoyance. What exactly did you do other than make noise? Valkyrie then tries to flirt yet again by sliding it in while asking about her past. As Loba tells her about her parents, Valkyrie tries to relate herself to her situation, and proceeds to pretty much tell, don't show, Loba's character. Remember when writers would slowly build up a character's motivations and values over time so that we could bond and relate to the character they're trying to portray, rather than just spelling it out for us like we couldn't decipher nuance if it slapped us silly? Nah, me neither. Before the spider could save the quality of this comic, Loba shoots it dead to keep Valkyrie out of its jaws, but aw shit! The shot alerted the herd and put our heroes in a prickly situation. Psych! We now cut to Crypto grilling Caustic about abandoning his sick mother. After a few seconds, Caustic explodes with rage, saying that the cancer should have killed him by now. But before he could explain his feelings towards its fleeting mortality, aw shit! The spiders attack yet again. And somehow they end up with Loba and Valkyrie wrapped up with the rest of the prey. But surprise! Caustic had his hammer the whole time, so he cut himself out of the webs. He cut out of webs by life-size spiders with a hammer. Valkyrie asks Caustic to bail them out as well, but Loba knows about his untrustworthiness, so she placed the spider inside of her web, somehow, so that Caustic would have to bail them out. How is this the same person that carelessly waddled around a hole surrounded by poisonous plants? At first she makes a stupid decision and now she makes a smart decision? A smart decision that takes way more brains than being cautious around poisonous plants? Do you want Loba to be intelligent or not? Make up your damn mind because the inconsistency is making me dizzy. The spiders are hot on their trail, and Valkyrie, after finally working up the bright idea to use her thrusters, demands Loba to throw her the bracelet. They're trying to make this a pivotal moment because she says the thing she said earlier as a tactic to make it a double entendre and give it more meaning, but again, there was absolutely no reason for me to give a shit. The breakneck pacing chokes the life out of any chance to develop anything this story has to offer, which is nothing. It's just an empty attempt to elicit some type of emotion and further artificially bond Loba and Valkyrie so that they can please whatever love triangle fanfic stands foam at the mouth over any same-sex relationship regardless of if it benefits the characters' personalities or not. And no, I don't care if girls like girls or if boys like boys. I would have said the same shit if it was a straight relationship. I don't care who woo-who's who, just as long as it adds something interesting to the characters to further invest me into the overall storyline, rather than just being a voyage for some stupid message or to lazily toss in a lovey-dovey B-plot that ruins the subjects in the relationship because they're too unimaginative to think of anything else to make the story more compelling. It happened in the past, and it's more damaging nowadays than ever before. It's tiring to look at, and it needs to stop. Tangent aside, let's end the suffering, once and for all. Caustic is seconds away from killing Crypto because he's still the big mad for leaving his mother. Fascinating logic there. But surprise! He actually saves Crypto and they fight off the Horde. The Horde becomes too much and it looks like the end of our heroes, but surprise! Valkyrie brings in Bloodhound and Fuse to save the team from an untimely death. And they load up the spiders onto the ship after even more forced cringe by Valkyrie and Loba. The legends bring the spiders to Horizon and she gets to work on the cure. Before Loba goes to meet Bangalore, we find out that Bangalore thinks of Loba as just a friend. So the date wasn't agreed upon? Loba was just imagining it? They really went and made Loba a simp. Just to quickly erase all of the paper-thin bonding her and Bangalore did off-screen for over 3 seasons so that they can rush her and Valkyrie's relationship. God fucking damn it. I'm done. Caustic gets to see his mother or whatever. Big sad. I just don't care anymore. It's gone now. Destroyed. Reduced to atoms. I'm not going to analyze anything. I'm not going to talk about how it could have possibly worked with the storyline. I've kept you here long enough as is, and I don't think anyone wants to stick around listening to me become brain dead attempting to fix this plane accident. So let me save you time by moving on to my final point and conclusion. When I first played this game, I was a Bloodhound main before I was a hardcore Lifeline turned Wraith, Wattson, and Loba main. A lot has changed over the years. Bloodhound's design was one of the most unique I've seen yet. The armor, the raven, the soul-seeking goggles, and the badass accent, the mystery, the intrigue. It was such a breath of fresh air. Even had what I consider to be Respawn's best story from the Outlands. A cold, calculating hunter with otherworldly customs and a cutthroat demeanor? Sign me the hell up. You guys are probably thinking, now he's praising Respawn? What does this have to do with anything?
Your planet's dying, people displaced, and Hammond installs a giant ice cream maker.
Leave it to Hammond to ruin ice cream.
Did you just laugh and joke? I'm about to get misty-eyed over here, mate.
I am sorry, Walter Fitzroy, for failing to prevent this.
Come on, Houndy. You ain't never let me or your people down, mate.
We must return to this Latra.
Reckon that dust will stay unbitten for now, eh, Houndy?
My people suffer because of me. I am unworthy of your kindness.
The bloody weight of Talos ain't yours to carry alone, Houndy.
So basically, Bloodhound and Fuse got Loba and Bangalore. One little interaction in the launch trailer in Season 9 comic, and suddenly they're just in love with each other? Are you out of your fucking mind? I was so confused hearing these voice lines, so I searched like hell for whenever retard Respawn thought it was okay to ruin what could have been an icon for Apex. And what do you know? It's in a Twitter comic. Whatever. The Bloodhound and Fuse relationship, again, is force-fed down your throat in an attempt to make themselves look woke as they're just mixing whatever labels they can at this point. Butt smacks? Are you kidding me? Bloodhound also talks about the past sometimes, and Fuse tries to play emotional support? There's one small problem with these interactions. Why in the hell would Bloodhound confide in Fuse, who literally just got here, but not in any of the original Legends? Seriously? Not even after the Broken Ghost storyline? That's why I have an issue with this and many other relationships in this game's story. I'm not against hardcore characters softening up to people they're friends with, and I'm not against relationships either. Sometimes both can be utilized as effective tools for character development. The problem is that nothing was built up, nothing was hinted at. It just happened because Respawn wanted it to happen. And instead we get out of nowhere in-your-face bullshit like this that ruins previously established characters, most notably the brisk and or intelligent type. Hey, guys, idiot writers and executives, guess what? I know this is gonna be crazy, but listen up and listen good. Number 1, smart characters can be developed into relationships without having their IQ dropped below sea level. And number 2, characters in general do not have to have their personalities changed to be vigorously accommodated for whatever recipient you chose to be their significant other. It's not impossible to write relationships correctly. Not at all, because it's been done before. The issue is that writers treat them as a means for cheap applause because people who have no standards and just consume whatever garbage is dumped out of these companies die in excitement anytime they see kissy and label salads. Not only is it insulting to the characters you're ruining, it's also insulting the intelligence of the people who actually give a damn about the quality of the character they're invested in. This plague needs to be cured or else we'll forever be doomed to lifeless love stories and store-bought love triangles. Speaking of love triangles, there's one more that I wanted to talk about. I'm not going to return to the empty love triangle between Loba, Bangalore, and Valkyrie because Respawn didn't either after Season 12. But there's one more in particular that hasn't done as much damage, simply because they didn't bother to expand on it, though it still bothers me nonetheless. Mirage and Wraith. But that's only 2 people. Don't worry, it'll come into play later. I don't care that they started to hint at some type of attraction later in the game's lifespan. Ever since the OG season, I always assumed that Wraith was more of a big sister to Mirage. She always puts up with his antics because she really cares about him. The first ever launch trailer showcases them bickering like siblings but ultimately coming to an agreement against Pathfinder when he brings up how many kills he got. The Broken Ghost has a couple examples of this as well. In the second chapter, she knew right away how Mirage was feeling about Loba's presence. I'm sure there's more in their old quips, but you get the picture. I'm not saying it can't go into a relationship, although it would have been refreshing for them to have a brother-sister type bond, especially since they've already manufactured so many relationships in the past. But nope, in Season 6, Wraith starts to show signs of her being in love with him the whole time. What do you mean? Season 6 didn't show anything about Wraith being attracted to Mirage because they only had that one instance where she criticized him for not acknowledging the existence of people with amnesia. And I'd say you're correct, dear viewers. They don't show anything about Wraith being attracted to Mirage. In-game. A tweet by Retard themselves, titled "The Story Continues," was posted on October 8th, 2020, with 4 panels each split across 3 parts, picking up right where the in-game comic has ended. And you can see, in classic Respawn fashion, Wraith choking up because she wants to confess her love for him. God fucking damn it. Wraith also gets the big mad because Mirage called her a brain wreck, but then he makes it up to her with a card. And then he gives Rampart flowers because he shot her workbench into the stratosphere. Telling by their outfits, it looks like they're going to date. You heard me correct. That one short comic where they went at each other's throats like a married couple was really just the underlying sexual tension. Man, I can't believe we missed that. See, setups and payoffs, guys. They yelled a lot, but Mirage said he was sorry and now they're getting together. Aren't Respawn such pioneers of storytelling? Luckily, it doesn't get as scraping the surface as Loba's love triangle, and instead it's just forgotten about. Thus, Wraith isn't as ruined as the rest of the victims. Gold star, I guess? But yeah, that's pretty much whatever Respawn considers lore now. Just keeping up to date on our newlyweds and lovebirds whatever chance we get. Any hope of the story being anything more was lost after Season 9. It's all anyone ever talks about, and it's where all of Respawn's effort goes. I've just come to accept it at this point. Loba's season is the best we're ever gonna get. The ideas that could have been inspired by it being wasted just disappoints me to no end. They had such a good run from OG to Season 4, and Season 5, even though they stumbled, almost helped carry the lore to the El Dorado of unbound potential. But in an unnecessary haste to keep fans happy until their real content came out, they brought upon themselves one of the biggest fall-offs in quality I've ever had the displeasure of experiencing. Blasting out of the gate with such promise, it looked like Apex Legends was dead set on making a place for themselves in modern gaming history. Yet on the path to greatness, they lost their way, and instead of looking for directions, they took an uneducated shot in the dark, only to end up missing on all counts. I'm sad to say that the Ghostess in-game universe is left broken, will forever remain broken. If anyone has made it this far, first and foremost, thank you so much for thinking that I was worthy enough to take up so much of your precious time. It means I've kept your attention to some degree, and to know that even a single person is entertained by my content, it gives me the motivation to put in all the work needed to make sure that these videos are the best that they can be. Second, what did you guys think of the video? Was the format okay? How was my editing? What about the quality of my points and analysis? Don't hesitate to leave your thoughts down below so that I can learn and adjust accordingly to trim as much fat as I need to. Encouraged criticism aside, if you really like this video and are excited for more like this, don't forget to enroll into the Tempura clan by subbing and hitting the bell so that you're kept up to date on whatever's going on in the channel. While my videos are starting to take much longer than I anticipate, this one in particular took more time than I would have liked to because I started using a new editing software. I pretty much had to relearn everything and get used to the new interface, but the payoff is that this is probably one of my best videos to date. And because it's so much faster than my last one, editing this mammoth was some of the most fun I've had in a while. But just in case any roadblocks come my way and halt progress, I stream from time to time to make sure that I'm keeping the channel lively with more laid back content in between, rather than just starving you with only one video after a period of months. We usually just fool around, touching on some brief topics here and there while cutting on either some old games that I haven't played, or buried memories that I return to looking to find out if I would still like the game today as much as I did in the past. We all have a chill time in there, and I hope to see you join us as well. As I close, thank you all so much again for making it this far into my video. It really means a lot to me that it was given the time of day. I can't wait to bring out more and more better quality projects in the future for you guys. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, you all have an amazing, spectacular rest of your day. See you on the field, soldier.